Progressive Congressman Ruben Gallego acknowledging that his entrance into the Arizona Senate race this week has put his fellow Democrats in a difficult spot, saying, "I know they're in a very sticky situation," while also defending the decision. If the newly independent Kyrsten Sinema decides to run again, Democratic leaders would be forced to choose between standing by Gallego or Sinema, the incumbent who caucuses with Democrats. So the seat carries enormous stakes for Democrats' control of the Senate. Leaders from both parties addressing his run.
As to whether or not she chooses to run again, it's really her decision. And I think it is a big dilemma for the Senate Democratic majority to decide whether to support her or to support somebody running on the Democratic ticket.
Look, Senator Sinema is an excellent Congress member and Senate member, and she has done a lot of good things here, but it's much too early to make a decision.
All right, so joining me now, Democratic Congressman Ruben Gallego of Arizona. Thank you, Congressman. I appreciate you joining us. Good morning to you. So why do it? Why put your party and yourself in this position?
Well, because it's not about the party. It's not about myself. It's about the people of Arizona, and they have not gotten good service from Senator Sinema.
So why then you believe, because there are a number of Senate Democrats who have been reluctant to embrace your candidacy. Are you worried about that? Are you worried about the reluctance on your party?
No, I have to focus on the voters of Arizona, the people I've known forever, the people I've actually worked for and will continue to work for, the people I'm going to go talk to this week, starting in Tucson, ending up in White River, Arizona. Those are the people that really matter.
But you're not happy about it, I'm sure. You would prefer that they supported you.
Of course, but look, let's be honest. It's a very sticky situation. You have a lot of members over there that have known each other forever. It's a little insiders club. They don't want to start, messing around with their friends. And we have time. At the end of the day, what matters is I'm going to win because the voters of Arizona want to vote for me. Have
you discussed your candidacy with Leader Schumer or Senator Gary Peters? I mean, they run the Senate Democratic Campaign Committee. What did they tell you if you did speak with them?
We've been talking to them on a lot of other issues, a lot of legislative issues. We'll always have open line of communications, but we're not talking about them about this campaign, not at this point. But we're not afraid to talk to anybody, and we'll be reaching out to them and reaching out to all other political organizations so they know what a strong campaign we're running.
Well, listen, the reason I'm asking you about the concerns from Democrats so much is because they are defending at least, as you know, 23 seats in 2024, and Arizona's voters are almost evenly split 3 ways between Democrats, Republicans, and independents. And I just wonder, they favor moderate candidates, by the way. Could your candidacy hand the seat to the GOP?
No, actually, my candidacy is probably the only thing that's going to save the seat from the GOP. Kyrsten Sinema can't win Arizona anymore. When you say the vote split third, Sinema is polling at 12 to 14%. She's lost trust of everybody. And even when there is no Democrat running, she's still losing to a Republican by 5 points. So over here in kind of D.C. land and La La Land, everyone thinks that she's doing very well. She is not. There's a reason why I'm running. There's a reason why I've been able to raise more than $1 million in less than 24 hours through 27,000 individual donors at Gallego for Arizona. It's because she's no longer popular. People know that she can't win, and she's potentially going to give power back to Republicans because she is so unpopular with everybody in Arizona.
Look, can we put the last graphic back up? Because I want people to see that when you talked about her polling. And I'm just wondering, there it is. Okay, so there she as an independent, and I think, she is facing political headwinds, which caused her to make some of her recent decisions. I am wondering.
No, that's not true.
Go on.
Don, that's not true. Mark Kelly did not make those recent decisions in terms of how she's voted. Mark Kelly ran as a very strong Democrat and made some, great decisions and ended up having one of the largest victories as a Senate candidate.
I'm talking about her. I'm not talking about Mark Kelly. I'm saying she is facing political headwinds, is what I'm saying. It caused her to make some recent decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. I apologize. Yeah, she's running as an independent because she can't win a primary.
Yeah.
She's no longer popular with anybody.
Have you spoken to her?
No, but that doesn't really matter. But nobody in Arizona has really spoken to her in the last 4 years. This is why she is where she is. She hasn't had a town hall in a minimum of 3 years, at least what we're counting. This is at least, trying to figure out around COVID. She doesn't have meetings with people unless there's checks involved. She doesn't really have anything unscripted. We hardly see her in Arizona. She has cut off everybody unless you are a big donor. Again, I don't really matter in terms of having to speak to her. What matters is that she doesn't speak to Arizonans anymore. She doesn't actually.
What are you saying? What are you saying
talk to them.
For her? You're saying this is just about donors, and what are you saying? Congressman?
I'm saying that the values of Arizonans do not match anymore with Kyrsten Sinema. She cares more about donors. She cares more about what lobbyists think. She cares more about what D.C. thinks, because she doesn't talk to Arizonans anymore. She doesn't go and fight for us anymore. She's more likely to fight for pharmaceutical companies than the seniors in Arizona that have to drive all the way to Mexico to get cheap drug prices.
Okay.
You know, she's more likely to fight for your private equity managers, your hedge fund managers, to make sure they keep their capital, their tax cut, instead of trying to make sure that people keep their child tax credit.
It sounds like you're saying that she
match.
is. It sounds like you're saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to put words in your mouth. That she's bought and paid for by special interests. That she's in it for herself and the money. Is that? I mean, that's why I said, what are you saying here?
I mean, exactly that. I mean, I don't think she's in it for the money for herself. I think she's actually a very upright person when it comes to her personal finances. But she has sold out to big interests to do their bidding, to do the bidding of everyday Arizonans.
Okay. So listen, then I'm interested in what you have to say about this, because last week, they were at Davos, right? Sinema and Joe Manchin were on a panel together there. Sinema defended her decision to block the filibuster reform, and then high-five Manchin over their efforts to block it. Watch this.
While some would say that there were reluctant folks working in Congress in the last 2 years, I would actually say that that was the basis for the productivity for some incredible achievements that made a difference for the American people in the last 2 years.
And we still don't agree on getting rid of the filibuster.
That's correct.
What do you make of that moment, sir?
Well, that moment was during MLK weekend, which is a very important weekend in Arizona, because for many years we did not actually have Martin Luther King weekend and got boycotted. The fact that she's high-fiving killing the filibuster on MLK weekend, when she has skipped, and then bragging about killing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, someone who she claims was her friend, was her mentor, tells you everything about her. She doesn't really represent anything. She's just about holding power for those that already have power. At the end of the day, it's not really about trying to work for the people of Arizona. It's trying to work for the people that have, interests, whether it's in Davos or Wall Street or whether it's in Washington, D.C.
I have to ask you about this, what's going on in Washington. I'm sure you've heard about the House Speaker, the new House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, last night announcing that he is keeping or kicking 2 Democrats off the Intelligence Committee, or keeping them off the Intelligence Committee as well. Adam Schiff, Eric Swalwell. What do you think of that?
Well, this is just like grievance politics that that McCarthy's executing right now. He's doing it to basically keep power, because I know his members want to keep up. We know that Eric Swalwell and Schiff have not done anything incorrectly. We know the FBI has clearly stated that Swalwell has been cleared and did not do anything at all, including Paul Ryan and different speakers before McCarthy, who all have said there's been nothing done incorrectly. So at one point, this will obviously change. I think McCarthy is going to look like a fool, but he's only doing this to make sure that he can hold power, not because these two are somehow some kind of threat to national security. If anything, we need them on these committees because they are very bright. They know what they're doing. They have the context that we need. And instead, he's doing this to appease the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world.
Yeah, listen, classified documents are a big issue. Have you checked to make sure that you don't have any? Do you have any concerns about yourself?
So I'm a millennial, so I don't do paper. I always work off electronics, and even then, when it comes to classified information, I only go and read it in a SCIF. And when I leave that SCIF, everything I leave is there. So I'm not concerned about it. I understand what's happening with Vice President Pence and the president. To me, it seems like it's very inadvertent. I'm glad that they are cooperating. That's what you should do when you come to this point. But let's make sure we understand there is a difference between them two and former President Trump. What he is doing was illegal, should continue to be illegal, and he should be held to justice for that.
Congressman Gallego, thank you for your time. Have a great day.